Hello, drama nerds, welcome. Two buses carrying schoolgirls travel through the woods on a roadway. Everyone talks cheerfully as a recluse named Mitsuko crafts a poem. Her friends encourage her to let go of the notebook and explore the world outside of it. Mitsuko bends down to pick up her pen when a surge of wind rips through the school buses, severing everyone else on board. When Mitsuko glances up, she notices that the bus has no roof and her friends' upper parts are missing. Moments later, a second surge of wind strikes, but Mitsuko ducks just in time to avoid being slain alongside her comrades. When the bus stops, she hops down and sprints down the roadway through the upper parts of the deceased. A group of 4 girls is strolling ahead of her. She pushes one of them to the ground, saving her life as the other girls face the same fate. But barely a moment later, the girl dies while attempting to save a group of cyclists. Mitsuko runs as far as she can till she reaches a river after being abandoned once more. Several lifeless bodies of schoolgirls had washed up on the banks. She washes her face and puts on a clean uniform before roaming around the highway again. After traveling aimlessly for hours, she arrives at an all-girls school. Strangely, the uniform she changed into matched the school uniform. The girls appear to recognize her. Mitsuko does not ask them any questions or tell them about the previous mass slaughter. She is too astonished to respond. Suddenly, her girlfriend Aki approaches her. They haven't seen each other in a long time, but Aki insists they've always attended the same school. When a gust of wind hits them, Mitsuko panics and falls to the ground, but the wind causes no harm this time. Aki scoops her up and leads her to school. Mitsuko is completely perplexed, but she explains the events of the morning as a lucid dream. She believes Aki when she says they've always attended this particular school. When alone in a classroom, Mitsuko tells Aki about the wind that killed all of her schoolmates and begins to hyperventilate. To assist her, Aki leads her to the window, demonstrating that the wind is quite safe. Mitsuko extends her hand and settles down after touching it. The couple smiles at one another, reflecting on the ridiculousness of the scenario. Aki assumes Mitsuko has amnesia but laughs it off. Following that, the couple gathers with their group of pals and agrees to skip class for the day. The 4 of them flee into the woods, laughing and joking around. Mitsuko's mental condition is completely different from what was a few hours before. She completely forgets about her previous existence, considering it as a dream. The group pauses to gather their breath. When Aki and Mitsuko approach a riverbank, they glance at one another and fall even more in love. Mitsuko then informs the other girls about her dream. One of them believes she must have entered a parallel realm this morning, while the others believe she is lying. Then they see a mattress on the ground nearby and playfully fight with a pillow. As the feathers fly all about, the girls exchange admiring glances. Mitsuko observes a lesbian pair standing close and smiles as she watches them. The mattress and pillows must have belonged to them, but they vanish before Mitsuko can investigate. A girl suggests that if they want their reality to alter, they should do something unusual and out of the norm. She then flashes her underpants to them, making the females laugh. Her remarks appear to be very important to Mitsuko, as she thinks about them seriously. A while later, the girls return to school. Mitsuko and Aki were in the classroom when Mitsuko noticed a pillow on the floor. As she picks it up, the teacher opens fire with a machine pistol. The catastrophe kills everyone, including Aki, with the exception of Mitsuko. The teacher says this is their punishment for skipping class. She is about to kill Mitsuko as well, when 2 of her other friends intervene and help her escape. They are also slain in the process, but before she dies, the girl from earlier advises Mitsuko that she may go wild if necessary. Mitsuko and the remaining girls flee the school while being fired on by the teachers. The majority of them are killed, but 5 of the females manage to escape. Suddenly, a devastating gust of wind kills the others, leaving Mitsuko alone yet again. Before dying, the girls inform Mitsuko that she is now responsible for everything. Mitsuko runs for several minutes, pursued by the wind, before arriving in a populated town. A crowd of people is walking down the street, but she pushes them aside and keeps sprinting. She finally stops when she arrives at a police station and meets a female cop. The police initially believes Mitsuko is a madman since she refuses to speak and only gestures in one direction, but then he calls her Keiko. When Mitsuko looks in the mirror, she is surprised to realize that she is transformed into a completely different person. The cop turns out to be Keiko's friend Tomoko, who is enthusiastic about Keiko's upcoming wedding in a few hours. Keiko, who is a different person just seconds earlier, is completely perplexed. She cannot think clearly and lets Tomoko do anything she wants. They take a car to the chapel where she is getting married. The morning has been a roller coaster ride for her, and it only becomes crazier when a swarm of women follow their car as if Keiko is famous. They all emphasize how delighted they are for the wedding. Many women surround and welcome her in the chapel. When she enters the changing room, she is shocked to see Aki getting ready for the wedding. She nearly doesn't believe her sight as her mind goes blank. She tries to ask her what's going on, but Aki whispers to her to stay quiet for a bit. She also pledges to explain everything later, implying that she knows something Keiko does not. Following that, Keiko gets outfitted in a wedding gown. As the females talk about how lovely the bridegroom is, Keiko realizes she can't marry a man because she's in love with Aki. Aki observes her panic and asks the other girls to leave the room for some privacy. When they are alone, she addresses Keiko by her true name and encourages her to perform as instructed. Keiko still has no idea what's going on, but she trusts Aki enough to do as she says. After she gets ready, a group of girls enters the room and invites her to the chapel. Aki attacks and kills everyone to teach Keiko how to fight. Before sending her down the aisle, she gives Keiko a broken glass to harm anyone who makes her uncomfortable. Keiko comes down the aisle with a glass instead of flowers. The guests, all girls, shout and cheer for her. On the other end of the aisle stands an upright coffin containing her groom. Suddenly, the guests begin making improper gestures and removing their garments. They mock Keiko and push her toward the casket. When it opens, it reveals that her future husband is a repulsive creature with a pig's head and a man's physique. The crowd forces her to kiss him, but Keiko uses the glass to stab him. In a moment of wrath, she murders several of the girls surrounding her. Aki arrives almost in time to help her, but they are stopped by two instructors from the previous school. They fight the two and manage to flee outside the church. Aki gets busy diverting the teachers, but Keiko keeps running until she is stopped by a girl in a tracksuit. The girl addresses her as Izumi and invites her to a marathon. Keiko looks in the mirror and is astonished to discover herself turned into someone else. She is now known as Izumi, a popular marathon runner. A large audience cheers as she rushes beside her companions. Her classmates explain that she has been a good runner since middle school. Izumi has no idea what they're talking about, and she doesn't want to know the answers. Soon, she begins to enjoy herself and notices that her schoolmates are running alongside her. But then the pig groom and the teachers start chasing her from behind. The girls encourage Izumi to be brave because she is the only one who can escape this world. Izumi runs faster than before, until arriving at a cave. A schoolgirl discovers her and leads her to a bunch of similar girls who stand creepily with their hair covering their faces. The girl then attempts to assassinate Izumi, declaring that if she does not die, everyone else will. Aki arrives just on time to save her girlfriend. She then requests Izumi to repeat the words, "I am Mitsuko." When Izumi follows instructions, she returns to her previous form as Mitsuko. Mitsuko's final step in escaping this world is to tug on two cords coming out of Aki's wrist, which will cleave her in half. She does not want to hurt the person she cares about the most, but Aki drives her to pull the strings. As a result, she is severed in half and Mitsuko enters the actual world. She ends herself in a restaurant where the first male characters in the film appear. As she walks deeper in, she notices a group of perverted males staring at a poster of her, Izumi, and Keiko. It turns out she is in a vulgar metropolis called Males' World, where only males play the deadly 3D survival computer game tag. The only controllable characters in the game are Mitsuko, Izumi, and Keiko, all of whom are her. A man recognizes Mitsuko and informs her that she is in the future. Mitsuko drops out and awakens in a cave-like setting with all of the game's characters displayed as mannequins. While walking about, she comes across an elderly man playing a game on his television. He reveals that she is 150 years into the future. He admired her back in high school. After she died, he extracted her and her friend's DNA and created clones for his 3D game for men's amusement. A younger version of the old man appears, naked, and invites her to bed with him. The old man reveals that the last step of the game is the realization of his biggest desire, to be intimate with her. The man is ready to touch her when she recalls her friend's request for her to do something unusual in order to break free from the delusion she is trapped in. Mitsuko takes the advice and tackles the man, screaming at him to stop treating girls like toys. She rips one of the pillows, and her wrath causes the white feathers to turn red. Finally, she clutches the old man's cane and does the unimaginable, much to his surprise, as her death was never part of the game. In the closing scene, Mitsuko wakes up alone in a landscape of white snow. She realizes that it is all done now, which means she will never have to be locked in the game again. Although the film appears weird and nonsensical for much of the time, it is a metaphor for Mitsuko's homosexuality and the difficulties she confronts as a woman in Japan. Each of the three females portrays a female dealing with separate but linked issues. Mitsuko is a high school student who is in love with another girl. The moment in which they discover the mattress in the midst of the woods shows society's abandonment of lesbian women. Similarly, Keiko is a lady who is forced to marry a man she does not love, therefore she views him as a disgusting pig that only wants one thing from her. Then there's Izumi, a talented and motivated girl who is fleeing the pig, which represents a male presence impeding her achievement. Finally, the elderly man's decision to include the girls as characters in his game exemplifies how men dominate society and exploit women and their difficulties. Mitsuko's only way out of the bondage is to die. Thanks for watching. Take care.